It's the biggest party of the summer, but sometimes it can be a bit of a bummer. Summerslam has given us some moments that couldn't be funner, but we thought we'd go over some of these blunders. This is Extreme League Wrestling, and here are our top 10 worst SummerSlam moments. Hulk Hogan vs. Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2005. Hulk Hogan and Shawn Michaels are of course titans of the wrestling world, and are known for their even tempers and good backstage conduct. I'm sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. At SummerSlam 2005, we saw the clash of these two titans and their egos. But to defend the Heartbreak Kid, he had every right to be upset. Hulk Hogan was able to politic a 2-match program into a 1-match program with a Shawn Michaels heel turn. With Shawn Michaels being a spry 40 compared to the Hulkster's 52, it was fair to say that Shawn Michaels would be taking a majority of the bumps during the match. And that he did in spectacular fashion. Shawn Michaels goes into the match over-exaggerating every move the Hulkster gives him, as if a pinball had a baby with a dead fish. Our personal favorite is right after the final big boot, Shawn Michaels takes a fairly normal bump until he bumps back up, does a little dance, and then plops right back down. We know this is the list of the worst SummerSlam moments, but in an ironic way, this is also one of the best. We highly recommend you check out this match if you want a good laugh. Bray Wyatt vs. Kane. Oh look, a match with two demonic characters that WWE eventually ran into the ground? What could possibly go wrong? You know what, now that I'm actually thinking about it, there's a lot of similarities between the careers of Kane and Wyatt. Both had incredibly over-spooky gimmicks, both had incredibly iconic looks, including a very iconic mask, and both were run down into the ground and neutered to the point where you couldn't even recognize them. Look at the crispy fiend. Wyatt's SummerSlam 2013 main roster debut was awkward to say the least. While yes, both of these men are extremely talented, in this match they moved around more awkwardly than children at a middle school dance. Awkward pink lighting and pyro and all. Some wrestlers work fantastically together in the ring, but this definitely did show that these two just didn't gel well. Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. At this point in his championship run, it was clear that the Jinder Mahal experiment wasn't working for WWE. Crown champion in order to enter the blossoming Indian market, the modern-day Maharaja's championship run could be honestly seen as a disappointment for the company. So come the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, they had a perfect opportunity to put the WWE Championship on a very promising star. Shinsuke Nakamura had not only proved himself well in the dojos of New Japan, but on WWE TV come his main roster debut. And of course, Shinsuke Nakamura won the WWE Championship in a 5-star classic, confetti rained down from the sky, and yeah, of course that didn't happen. Shinsuke Nakamura lost his chance at the WWE Championship in a match that Jinder Mahal has had 1,000 times. Punch, kick, Singh Brother interference, Koloss, and that is it. It's really hard to believe that at one point in the WWE Championship's long lineage that you could consider a title defense to be a bathroom break match, but yeah, that's what this exactly was. Have fun getting nachos. Not to mention, this is Shinsuke Nakamura's first main roster loss, so it's like you got nachos, but someone put raisins in them. The Mountie spends the night in jail. You know what's great? Stipulation matches. You know what's not great? Prison jokes. Both of these happened at SummerSlam 1991 as Big Boss Man took on the Mountie in a jailhouse match, where the loser of the match would have to spend the night in jail. Which is intriguing on paper given that both men have law enforcement gimmicks. That curiosity then quickly turns into horror after the match. After losing, the Mountie was then quickly dispatched to a New York City jail where it was extremely awkward trying to fingerprint him while he screamed, "I'm the Mountie!" After closing the cell door, the Mountie was then approached by a man in the cell and remarked how much he loved the feeling of leather on his skin with a very stereotypical gay accent. Taking into consideration the innuendos and horrible stereotypes, this is a segment that's best left in the past. Also, quick question WWE, why is this readily available on your YouTube channel? Why? Randy Orton cashes in Money in the Bank. Oh, WWE, you and your revisionist history. It's such a heartwarming story to see Daniel Bryan win the WWE Championship at the granddaddy of them all at WrestleMania 30. And if you believe that revisionist history, yes, this is the beginning of that as Randy Orton cashes in his Money in the Bank contract after Daniel Bryan beats John Cena for the WWE title. But Vince, it's okay buddy, you can let everyone know that wasn't the plan. Circumstances for WrestleMania 30 changed given CM Punk's exit from the company and the fan backlash with the original main event of Randy Orton versus Batista. Many people try to cover up WWE's booking decisions as Vince being out of touch with the fans, which is further from the truth with this example. Daniel Bryan and the Yes Chant were both white hot at the time, but Vince McMahon, much like a 5-year-old, said no, my toy, and gave us this moment to drive that point home. While a great moment in the revisionist history of WWE WWE and the rise of Daniel Bryan, this is quite a wet fart to this SummerSlam. Lex Luger versus Yokozuna. The Lex Express had no brakes, nor an understanding on how WWE Championship matches are actually won. As Hulk Hogan exited the WWE for the first time in the 1990s, Lex Luger was set to be the next big thing in WWE. He even got a fun little bus as he campaigned across the country for a WWF title match. Following cold feet by Vince McMahon in a very volatile locker room that did not like the decision, Lex was not crowned at SummerSlam, but won via countout. And even beginners in the wrestling industry know that a championship cannot change hands via countout. So all these years later, it's still puzzling why Lex had a full-on parade in the middle of the ring for beating Yokozuna via countout. Is anyone gonna tell him that he's not actually WWF champion? Are we just going on with this? Oh, Lex, at least you tried. Jake the Snake Roberts versus Jerry the King Lawler. The journey to one's sobriety is always very tricky. It's a deeply personal and spiritual journey that should be taken with the utmost seriousness. And Jake the Snake's journey has been extremely well documented. So can someone please explain to me why in SummerSlam of 1996 anyone would think this match was a good idea? Would you like for me to cover the action in the match? Well, there isn't much besides Jerry the King Lawler offering Jake the Snake bottles of whiskey to not fight him. It is genuinely uncomfortable to watch. To be fair, I'm not surprised with Jerry the King Lawler because most of his SummerSlam matches have been checks notes, hot garbage. Not to mention that the match ends with Jerry the King Lawler throwing a bottle of whiskey right in the face of Jake the Snake in front of the referee, no DQ is called, and Jerry the King Lawler wins. Jake the Snake has recently said in interviews that he regrets doing this angle, feeling that Vince McMahon is a total asshole for pushing him into doing it. And yeah, we agree. Fuck Vince. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Owen Hart. Oh man, there's really no easy way to talk about this moment, is there? Owen Hart's pile driver that compresses Stone Cold Steve Austin's neck is a terrible incident for so many reasons. This moment did not only shorten the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin, but ensured that Owen Hart would never sniff the main event scene while Stone Cold Steve Austin was at the top of the company, which was pretty much the rest of Owen Hart's time with WWE until his unfortunate death. Please note, we're not saying that this moment led to the death of Owen Hart, but it is a very sobering reminder that every wrestler, no matter what the match, no matter what the night, is putting their body on the line to entertain us all. Now, on a way lighter note, the Great Khali Trilogy. Oh poor Great Khali, this walking refrigerator ain't got no knees. It is honestly really difficult to figure out which one of his 3 SummerSlam main events is worse, so screw it, all 3 of them are going here. Batista couldn't drag something decent out of him, Triple H and him have a rest hold fest, and him and Kane, oh god, him and Kane, the longest 6 minutes of your life. One of Vince's quote-unquote cute quirks is thinking that we want to see these giant men who can't wrestle. Wow, look at him move, ever so slowly. I'm sure the Great Khali is a fine man, but god damn it, this man cannot wrestle. Thank God they replaced him in the 2010 SummerSlam main event with Daniel Bryan. And finally, our number 1 for our worst moment in SummerSlam history, John Cena versus the Nexus. WWE pushing their older, more established talent instead of developing new stars has been a constant problem with the company. And really, this match and this moment surely solidified that in a lot of wrestling fans' mindsets. At SummerSlam 2010, it really did make sense for the young of upstarts in the Nexus to defeat the established WWE talent. After the eliminations of legends such as Chris Jericho and the Rated R superstar Edge, Cena faced a 2-on-1 attack from Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel. Mind you, a 2-on-1 attack that started out with John Cena eating a DDT onto the bare concrete. But of course, John Cena was able to rise above hate and beat the 2 young upstarts in a wet fart of a moment. After this one match, we saw the Nexus break up and flounder onto the main roster. In fact, we bear to say that it's been so devastating that only one man in this group is still technically with the company, and he's not even an in-ring performer. Chris Jericho would later reveal on his podcast that Cena lobbied to beat the group in order for them to beat him at a later date. So we could think of no worse moment in WWE Summerslam history than fumbling the careers of 6 potential world champions, and also Ryback. And that'll do it for us today. Those are our top 10 worst SummerSlam moments of all time. What are your worst SummerSlam moments of all time? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching Extreme League Wrestling, and we'll catch you next time.